Welcome to the Namaste Nomadic podcast. My name is Madeline. I'll be your host.
And I'm Josh, your other host. This episode is produced by all of us at Shaman Motion Pictures, and we're very happy to have you here.
On this podcast, we share our experiences, our adventures on the road, and tonight we are going to be sharing with you our magical encounters.
Pretty much everywhere we travel, we encounter the magic in other people, whether it's from total strangers who light up our life in surprising ways, to the magic in the mundane, the people who maybe don't necessarily realize just how truly magical they are. But today, we're going to talk to you about stories we've run into on the road, share with you some of our favorite moments, and why that light that they share is so important, especially in 2020.
Traveling on the road has been quite different during these times. However, we have had the blessing of being able to connect still with both people we didn't know before and also connect more with our family, which has been awesome. We've been able to travel more and see more of the people that live in different states away from us. And that's been an awesome experience to be able to connect with them. The first magical encounter that we are going to share today is about our beloved forest family. We have this amazing group of talented individuals, and they are our dearest friends. And every year, well, for the most part, we went to a festival together, and this is now, these are our friends that we've had for years. So now we have been creating our own camp adventure in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan every year. And it's just the most magical experience to have all of these amazing friends with us and everyone together. And this year in June, we got to see and meet some new flow artists that were in our group, Brayton and Alex, and they were really amazing to learn from, and they were spitting fire, and they were so talented, and there was just another awesome aspect to it all, and pretty much everyone there was, a flow artist or some kind of artist in their own right. So that was pretty cool.
Exactly. My business partner, Dan, one of the producers of Shaman Motion Pictures, put it really hilariously to me just the other day when we were talking. He says, if someone asked me how I describe my friend group, I'd say circus troupe. And it's exactly true. We have a special connection with this group of people because they are weird and eccentric, full of life and optimism, and everybody has their own unique talents and skills that when we're together, they all just kind of bring out to their fullest potential. We have Julia and Sam, who are awesome at gloving, and we've got Sally, who does the dragon staff, and like you said, Alex and Brayton, who do fire dancing with Madeline, and there's so many more things. A lot of us shaman guys, we have the gift of our filmmaking, right? But it's something extraordinarily to see these magical people dancing and using their creative flow to express themselves. And so we wanted to talk about them on the front end because the magic that we experienced on our camping trip with them kind of set the tone for the whole trip. We hadn't officially been on our own other than traveling back to Wisconsin from Colorado. And we were presented on the front end with this beautiful experience. We had been mostly laying low since the onset of coronavirus in March. So taking a little R&R to have a small, intimate family camping trip gathering was absolutely worth it.
And it was my birthday.
And it was Madeline's birthday, and we had to celebrate properly. It was special, truly. And I think it kind of opened up our hearts because the rest of the trip from there almost instantly just ignited the magic to come out of other people. And maybe that was simply because we were radiating it ourselves.
Yeah, that's definitely my favorite part of our group is we all just radiate magic, and so when we're all together, it's pretty hard not to have fun. So yeah, I think that it was really important to start with that group because going back a little bit, I definitely think that our group of friends and the people who have supported us this far are really like the backbone kind of our success. Like, you know, we have been supported and loved so much through this whole process of getting the RV to moving into the RV to living on the road and up to this point, and we've really felt the love. And I think that there's no other way to say it. We just love our family and our friends, and it's been really a journey to be able to like connect more with that group of people. And tying into the Forest family, just our families in general, we have been able to travel and stay with our moms and visit with our siblings and talk on the phone more with other family members. It's been really rewarding to be able to add to those connections and those relationships and to share these experiences that Josh and I are having on the road. It's incredible.
With the people who love us most. You know, we, living in Colorado for a while, we're away from most of our family in Wisconsin. And this RV living has given us the opportunity to reconnect with them. You know, that nothing says family like rolling up on the front yard and stealing their power. Like,
yeah, that makes a true friend family.
It's been great because we have a really awesome kind of 1-2 dynamic between our two mothers' homes. So my mother lives in a very rural setting in Wisconsin, you know, very quiet, beautiful stars at night. We got chickens and a garden, and it's country. But that offers us a great degree of peace, relaxation, and a chance to kind of roll up our sleeves and get our hands dirty a little bit. Also, however, on the total flip of that, and shout out Mom, you the real MVP. But here in Madeline's mother's house, we have another special connection because we get to be more intimately engaged with her little brother Zach and how he's growing up, and we get to be here with Vivian and Angeline and kind of be a part of their lives really closely. You know, we're just in their driveway. It's a tight fit, but we feel very connected to them by being here, and I'm not sure that those opportunities would have really happened without the RV. You know, not every year do you go and just live with your parents for a while, but because we have this mobile home, we kind of just extended visit, but it allows us a chance to reconnect and make those relationships truly magical.
And conveniently still have our own little space. So, you know, technically no one really has to have a guest bedroom or have to like clean the house, you know, because we already have our own little roll up and home is where you park it.
It's extremely convenient.
We stayed at Stars, my cousin. We stayed at her place, and we were able to stay the night there, and she made us amazing dinner and breakfast, and we got to connect with my little cousin Rainbow, and that's her baby, and we got to all connect. But that was another thing that you were saying, is we just got to like pull up and park in her driveway. There we were for the night, and it's just been a really cool feeling to be able to call our friends and family and say, hey, we're going to be in that part of the U.S. Where are you?
And it's fun. It's so fun. Like, it just connects us in ways I never thought possible. I'm really grateful. You know, we're also very thankful that we haven't completely left the magic behind from Colorado. When we were living in Fort Collins, we had an awesome group of friends. Like, I can't even express how cool it was that in 1 year living there, we made so many connections with people. But that group of friends has been so supportive of us because they've, you know, followed the podcast, followed us online, sent us love. And some of them we've even grown closer to, like Gabe and Logan, who we FaceTime now regularly. They're helping Madeline as one of her first clients. You know, we are getting love outpouring from these people who are really attached to our journey, because what we're doing is uncommon. You know, we are breaking the norm. We're choosing a full-time adventure as our lifestyle, and I think that inspires such great things out of other people, Because when they see, well, those guys can do that, this challenge in front of me is nothing. And I think it's helping so many people unlock and open up their full capability and potential. And for that, I mean, that's pure joy to see your friends and loved ones succeed and happy. Isn't that the whole goal?
So we are staying in Oshkosh, Wisconsin right now. We are headed up to the UP tomorrow. However, we both have roots here in the good old Oshkosh, and we both have friends around in this area in the Fox Cities. And last night I got to have a couple dear friends over. My friend Courtney, we call her Corky. She's the one who got me into hula hooping, and I'm really thankful for her. So every time we get together, it's always a good time. And then Autumn was one of my roommates when I lived in Oshkosh, and her boyfriend Andrew is a glass blower. And so last night when they all came over, we got to hang out for a while, and then they took us to his studio, and we got to see up close with sunglasses on. We got to see him fire glass and twist it and manipulate it, and it was amazing. It was so cool. I've never seen anything like so up close like that. It was really incredible.
Andrew's craftsmanship really inspired this episode because it made us reflect on all the people we've run into on this trip. And that's, I think, the point of this episode is that when you travel on the road, you are going to attract new people into your circle. You're going to meet strangers. But if you listen really closely to what they're trying to say and you greet every opportunity or connection with excitement, they will reveal the coolest things to you by just simply saying yes to invitations safely. You want to make sure that you're not being foolish or the right environment, but many places give you the chance to kind of explore a whole new person when you meet them. And so Andrew, watching him artistically craft glassware was so cool, and it brought us to connect with the other strangers we've run into on the road. One of my favorite people we've run into on this entire journey was on the beach of Lake Erie as we were making our way first to travel towards the east. We had spent the day canoeing in the bay, and afterwards we decided, well, let's hit the beach. It was beautiful, pristine, wasn't very crowded, and as we were walking out to it, we noticed all these kites, hundreds of kites everywhere. That was originally what attracted us to check it out. We didn't necessarily realize what the day was going to have in store for us, but we kept to ourselves, went over and were swimming in the water, and then Madeline was dancing with her sun wheel. A sun wheel is a really cool flow toy with roots in Indian military culture, so it was unique. Not a lot of people have seen them, and they're still kind of in the early prototype stage. Well, this caught the eye of a very cool gentleman named Lee.
Lee. Oh, Lee. This was such a good day, and it was so funny because before Lee came over, we had a woman come over and say, "Hey, I love that thing you were doing. It was so beautiful. Here's a rock that I painted." And she gave us this rock, and it was so detail painted as Lake Erie. It was so detailed painted as Lake Erie, and it had like the waves and everything. And she said, "I want to gift this to you. I paint these rocks and I leave them places." And so that was a really cool thing. We got a gift from a stranger, and she was super nice. So we got a little souvenir. And then right after that, we're playing the sun wheel, and we see Lee start heading over to us. And actually, I turned to Josh, and I'm like, oh gosh, here we go. Like, I thought that he was like a older man coming over to, like, ruin our day or like say something grumpy or something. But he came over and he was just like, "Hey guys, like, what is that thing? I want to check it out." And so he came over and he grabbed, like, I gave it to him, and he started like playing with it, and he was like, "Wow, I have never seen anything like that. I love new things." He said, "I love new things. I have never seen this." And so that just sparked our conversation with him, and we just started asking him, what he likes to do. And he said, actually, these are all my kites up here. And he told us that the beach we were at is called the beach. It's the Kite Beach. And he said every year they usually have a big, kind of festival type thing where a bunch of people come to the beach. Of course, given the scenario of this year, it wasn't happening this year. But he said, he was like, you got to come back here next year and bring that thing, and it's going to be a hit. So after that, he brought us over and he started showing us all these amazing kites. He had this trilobite kite that went all the way up into the sky, and it was so colorful. And I swear, Josh, you can attest, I have not laughed so much in so long. I was laughing like, just because it brought so much happiness, looking at these kites and the way that Lee was so passionate about the kites. And
he had this Willy Wonka vibe where he knew all these secrets that he was going to reveal to us if we passed his tests. It kind of seemed like, because we would demonstrate our inner child and our eagerness to play, and that would get him really excited to share more with us. And so at first he's sharing these kites, but then he shares some of his original inventions. This guy has rigged and created his own kites. I mean, we truly met an airbender this day. And his coolest invention was he had this giant bucket full of bubble. What would you call it?
It was soapy water. So well, first of all, he came up to us and he was like, okay, I know you guys are trying to get going, because we actually were kind of leaving before he caught us. And he was like, I know you guys are trying to leave, but let me show you one more thing. So we're like, okay. And he kept on saying, let me show you another thing. And so he's like, let me show you one more thing. So we go to his little van. And I know this is sounding like, don't go to a stranger's van, but he was really nice.
Sometimes you can go to strangers'
Yeah.
vans.
So we went to his van and he popped open his trunk, and there's all these toys and kites and fun, things. It was like a Mary Poppins van. It was crazy. So then he brings out this blue bucket filled with, I don't actually know what's in it. Remember, I was just videotaping because I was I want to know.
What do you think's in here?
Yeah, I turned to him what's in there, Lee? He turns to me, he goes, magic. So, and it surely was. We took it out to the beach, and it had these 2 rods, and he had made it out of rope, and the rope comes out of the bucket, and you slowly separate the rope, and it creates huge bubbles in the sky. And it was just so incredible. That was a really cool magical encounter. That was one of my favorites as well.
It was amazing being able to blow the giant bubbles on the beach, which of course, all the little kids were just totally, consumed by the magic of the moment. And that was a really interesting perspective for me, because we're all sitting there letting these bubbles blow, which is a simple thing, but it's so childlike and freeing, and it drew an energy of the whole group of people who were on the beach that day. Everybody stopped for a minute just to appreciate this really joyful magic experience, and we want to thank Lee for bringing that joy to the people that live in that area. But he was only one of many people we encountered.
And we want to say happy birthday to Lee, because it was his 65th birthday that day.
It was. And we were glad we got to spend it with him. One person that was pretty cool, we were in the UP, and this was one of the more early stranger encounters we ran into. We were camping at a very cool public art sculpture park, where it's open 24/7, so you can camp and park there if you need to. And we were sitting around a fire. Our friends, the Wandering Dexters, had their rig very close to the fire with their LEDs on the outside. We were kind of having a very nice Sunday evening to ourselves, just the 4 of us. And we see somebody walking up towards us with a red headlight on. And at first, you think, okay, are we supposed to be camping here? Are we about to get in trouble? You never know what to expect because of all the Karen and Kevins in this world. But this guy comes up, and he'd seen the lights on the rig. And he gets so excited because he's like, oh, yeah, this big, thick Yooper accent guy comes up to us, introduces himself as Irish Mike. He's a little leprechaun of a man, he claims to be. And he tells us that he kind of guerrilla works on art with light. So he will subtly alter things around his city and basically illuminate it at night in ways that only he knows. He calls himself a minimalist, so it's enhancing art through things like red tape and things that you might not, and reflectors, places that you might not normally notice, but especially during the day, but at night it changes it entirely.
Yeah, he took us on a little journey through the sculpture park, and we had already went through the sculpture park in the daytime, so we had seen them, and it was really awesome. And then he was like, let me show you what I have in store. So he took us on a walk, and he started shining his flashlight behind different sculptures and saying, wouldn't this look cool? And it was just a really fun experience to just like tap into that inner child again, and to see someone like him that just travels around and taps into his inner child every day. It was really inspirational to know that, like, if you have a dream or a passion, or if you want to do something, you can just do it. Like, there's no societal like restraints that keep you from just traveling around and following your passion for, light or whatever it may be. And it was just really cool to see him living out his dream of just doing whatever he wants, basically.
Then he tops the night off when he goes, oh yeah, and I just picked up this really nice telescope from Menards, $50. You guys want to look at it? Pulls it out, shows us the moon.
We got to see the moon from a telescope for the first time. I was mind blown. That was really amazing.
It was a perfect night, a perfect encounter with a total random person we've never met before, but we kept our hearts open to it, Being able to say yes in situations that others might not has given us the chance to see such profound specialness in our universe. Everyone is so different, and they're all full of their own unique passions. We get to see that more often and in more memorable ways because we live on the road. It has been hard though, because with coronavirus, you can't just like be how we have normally been at the moment. We are certainly more open and friendly in the outdoors. All of these engagements that we're talking about have been outside. But I want to give a big shout out to kind of the unsung heroes, because while we are mostly able to self-quarantine ourselves with our RV, you do still have to sometimes go to gas stations and grocery stores where we always wear masks in public spaces indoors. We be sure to respect people, but we've noticed that those people who are working, and it doesn't matter which state, from Colorado to Wisconsin to Maine and everywhere in between, the gas station workers, the grocery store workers, they have a relentless positive attitude. They're all experiencing their own degrees of struggle and adversity amidst this pandemic. And yet, every single one of them is there, working their jobs, busting their butt, trying to make ends meet and provide this service that we all need in order to continue fulfilling our dreams and goals.
Cleaning the carts, cleaning the bathrooms, mopping the floors, making sure the germs are kept to a low spot, and laundromat workers. I mean, the list goes on, and we have really been in encounters with people, essential workers of these types, from all around the U.S.
I think the final magical encounter we really want to bring up today is our experiences with families, because we did stay in one campground where we had a connection with our neighbors, and it was probably because the way Madeline is when she's playing outside, you will always find her with a hula hoop in her hand or some flow toy, and because of that interest in this very free-flowing, childlike experience, it attracts the local children. They think it's so cool. They think she is just totally full of energy and life, which is true. And that made an initial connection with some children who lived in this RV campground, and it got us an opportunity to, meet with our neighbors, who we want to give just a little shout out to Rick and Rob and Michelle and their whole family, because they weren't full-time RV lifers. They all had their own fifth wheels, but they came together as a family because they hadn't seen each other in so long because of Corona. And their family life in this camper showed us just how magical RVs are at connecting people. They were close, very close family. Not a lot of them on their phones. Most of them engaged with one another, laughing, being present in their own friendships and relationships. And especially with the kids, not a single child on a smartphone or a video game, playing on bikes and swing sets and living outdoors. It almost feels like that the community of RV life feels still stuck in the 1990s. It's a simpler time, but there's so much more emphasis on the real raw relationships right in front of you.
And the experiences. Being able to step out of your RV wherever you want to be, basically. And it's so freeing to wake up and to just take on the day wherever you are and make most of the experience. And with our traveling during COVID, we've both been able to have certain guidelines and rules that we both follow whenever we do have to leave the RV. And I think that we've done a really great job handling and navigating through the pandemic. And honestly, I don't think it's really hindered us that much. As long as you stay careful and mindful, that's the biggest thing, is staying mindful, washing your hands, keeping a distance when you can, all that stuff is very accurate. And so that's just what we've been doing. We've been doing our best, and I would say, we're drinking our smoothies and we're being really healthy, and life on the road has been incredible. And we're the healthiest, happiest, closest we've ever been.
10 out of 10 would again. You mentioned how great it is to wake up somewhere new all the time. That fits in so relevantly to this episode. This episode is about magical encounters. Perhaps the most magical encounter we could be grateful for is nature. Because of the quarantine, there's not a lot of going to museums and bars and live concerts, stuff we would probably be doing in a normalized world. But because of the conditions, we spend a lot of time outdoors. And that means we get to see new national parks, new national forests, stunning hikes, waterfalls.
We have just seen some of the most incredible natural splendors. It has been so cool being able to go and see all these different state parks. And we went to Hocking Hills State Park in Ohio, which I would have never known was there. It's actually funny because my cousin tagged me on Facebook and said, I found this, it was a post, you should go here. And so it was one of the first things I ever saw on a social media platform, and was like, I'm gonna go there, instead of oh, I wish I could go there. I'm gonna go there. So we went there, and it was so cool. And we went with our friend Sally, and that was another really magical night. We did campfire dinners, and we went canoeing and kayaking the next morning. So that was a really cool, magical experience as well. We've just had the best time on the road, and we plan to actually do more of these magical encounter episodes as we continue our journey. Because obviously the experiences are endless, and we want to be able to kind of meet back with the magical encounters and catch up with how we've, met new people and experienced new things. So we're really excited to share all this with you guys, and we just love doing this podcast. I think it's been a really evolving experience for us, and for you listening up to this point, Thank you so much for being here and for supporting us and for sending us all your love. We really feel it and we really appreciate it. So if you could do us a favor and just subscribe to our YouTube channel, Shaman Motion Pictures. And also we are streaming on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify. So find this podcast wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
We want to really say that RV life is full of magic. And by being on the road, we've been able to unlock the greatest potential in ourselves, in our relationship, and in our openness to everything the universe throws at us. This is achievable even for you. You don't have to be living in your own house with wheels in order to experience that openness, that true, genuine, magical gooiness. You can have it too, and that's perhaps what we want to share with you most, that you are also a magical being. You, the listener, are full of your own magical encounters, and we want you to share those with us. This podcast is a community, and even though it's young and we're still working on building our core of supporters and followers, if you've made it this far, please leave us a comment. Tell us about a magical experience you had. Tell us about a stranger you opened your heart up to that ended up being your best friend, or maybe even someone you fell in love with. We want to hear your stories. Comment, like, react, share, engage with us. It means so much to us to help us develop our show and ultimately tell you how great it is living full-time on the road. We're going to be back in 2 weeks from now. We got to be out there living it in order to bring these stories to you. But we truly appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll see you next time.
Namaste.